The Other Side of the Fence, Chapter 4 by Elissa S. Will dragged Harley toward the bus stop. He felt tired, lazy, and just wanted to flop. "Will, are we there yet?" Harley puffed. "My long pants are dirty and my shoes are scuffed." "Stop whining," said Will. "You wanted to go." "We'll never get there if you keep going slow." They arrived at the stop, but the Wilsons were first. Freya was sad that her balloon had just burst. "Jonah, you popped it. You're mean," Freya hissed. Jonah replied, "It's not my fault you missed. Let's play something else now the Skinners are here. It's handball, fellas, and the rules are quite clear. No double bounce or hits on the full. Just take your time, don't rush in like a bull." "I've never played," William confessed. "We'll sit this one out, that would be best." Freya threw him a ball and said, "Don't quit. You can stand over there and watch for a bit." When Freya hit low, Jonah slid and dived. They played back and forth till the Lovejoys arrived. Then they all took turns, even the Skinners, hitting high ones, low ones, and quite a few spinners. As the bus approached, it was time to stop. They boarded the bus and sat down with a flop. The Pages were lucky. The bus driver waited. Being driven by Mum was something they hated. On the bus ride, the Skinners laughed and told jokes, but the Wilsons had more fun in store for their folks. Mrs. Skinner was surprised by a knock on her door. She made tea while Ethan rolled on the floor. "Come in, Mrs. Wilson," she said with a smile. "Would you like some tea? I have chamomile." "There's no time for tea," Mrs. Wilson explained. "Get dressed and let's go. It's time to be trained." "I'm teaching a class at the gym nearby. There's childcare for Ethan. I insist you must try." They dressed and got going in record time while Ethan hummed a nursery rhyme. He couldn't remember a time without Mum, as he sat in the car and sucked his thumb. When they got to the gym, Mrs. Wilson helped out. She picked up a bag and asked, "What's this about?" "Those are his things," Mrs. Skinner replied. "He needs Mr. Lion to stay by his side." "Then there's spare clothes, nappies, and food. I can't send him with nothing. That would be rude." Mrs. Wilson said, "It's too much, you'll see. Just give him some space so he can run free." When Ethan arrived, he saw colourful walls, kids reading books and playing with balls. He wriggled and jiggled as he tried to escape. Then he ran straight to the dress-ups and put on a cape. Mrs. Skinner dabbed a tear from her eye as she hurried away to give gym class a try. Before she knew it, she was spinning and running. She looked tired and hot, while Mrs. Wilson looked stunning. When it was over, Mrs. Skinner inquired, "Just how do you do it? I feel so tired." Mrs. Wilson chuckled. "It's really quite easy, but it's better outside when the air's cool and breezy. You must give it time, and I guarantee you'll enjoy it just as much as me. I'm giving you my old exercise bike to use inside whenever you like." As soon as Ethan saw his mum, he ran to hide behind a large drum. Mrs. Skinner had to drag him away and promised to bring him back one day. Mr. Wilson surprised Mr. Skinner at school and said, "Today you won't be in the carpool. We're going bowling. It's all been arranged. They supply shoes, so just go and get changed. Here are some clothes I got from your wife. She knows where you are, so you won't get in strife." Mr. Skinner was lost for words and excuses, so he got in the car and was offered fruit juices. The two of them laughed and had a great chat while bowling 10 frames and knocking pins flat. Mr. Skinner felt happy and tired from the game, but tried to stay focused as he stopped to take aim. He let the ball fly straight down the lane. Then he zoomed all about like a speeding jet plane. "Woohoo! It's a strike! I win!" he cried. He was feeling so good and was beaming with pride. "Great game, mate," Mr. Wilson cheered. Then he made a weird face and pulled on his beard. He was pretending to be dragged off home and said, "Come on, or I'll sleep outside with the gnome. I have another surprise at the house, so we'll have to sneak in like a quiet mouse. You're all having dinner at ours tonight. It's all been arranged, so don't put up a fight. We've planned a birthday surprise for Harley. The missus made cake from ground-up pearl barley." Mr. Skinner smiled at his newfound friend, admiring his energy and facial hair trend. "I like your beard," Mr. Skinner said. "I could grow one, so there's more on my head. I was once rock and roll with long hair and tattoos. Now I cover them up and play classic and blues." As they arrived home, Mr. Wilson replied, "What makes you happy is for you to decide. It's never too late to make a change. Your friends and family won't think you're strange." Then they snuck inside where everyone hid to surprise the unsuspecting young kid. "Surprise!" they all yelled as he walked through the door. Then they bounced all around where he stood on the floor. His mother said, "How does it feel to be 5? You're growing so fast, you'll soon learn to drive." Before he could answer, he was shuffled away and now stood in front of the birthday buffet. The table was covered with healthy dishes, but veggies weren't one of his birthday wishes. He smiled as he chewed, just being polite, but snuck food to the dog, which wasn't right. When dinner was over, they brought out the cake, which was brown and sugarless with nothing fake. No icing, no sprinkles, no cream or jam. So he smiled and said, "Thanks for the great cake, ma'am." Harley tasted the cake, but it was dry. Even the dog wouldn't give it a try. Only the Skinner boys weren't very happy until they left early to change Ethan's nappy. The week wore on with more active fun, but it wasn't enjoyed by everyone. Harley preferred to take life slow, so an adventure weekend was the final blow. They went with the Wilsons to a camping spot, which took hours to hike to, and the sun was hot. With bags on their back, they crossed a stream, which wet their clothes and washed off their sun cream. Finally, they came to a crystal clear lake, which was just too much for poor Harley to take. While everyone started to set up the camp, Harley stormed off with an old oil lamp. He sat with the lamp and twisted the top, which squeaked before it came off with a pop. After some time, he was joined by the kids, who talked about catching fish, crabs, and squids. Then Jonah asked Harley, "What's up with you? Why sit here when there's so much to do?" "I want to go home," Harley grumbled. Then he turned away while the others mumbled. Jonah was mad and wanted to shout, but the parents were waving their arms all about. Mr. Wilson yelled and puffed out his chest, saying, "Come on, guys, you've had enough rest. My mate's towed my boat here. Let's go for a ride." "Don't run off, Harley. There's nowhere to hide." The kids started running to get to the water. Freya was winning until Jonah caught her. Each family got pulled in a tube by the boat, even the mothers who just wanted to float. Jonah and Will even caught a big fish. Each caught a big fish, but for Harley it was his least favourite dish. So when dinner was served, he only ate toast and groaned while the big boys started to boast. Jonah said, "My fish tastes good. Have you tried it, Harley? You really should." "My fish was bigger," Will interrupted. That was when Volcano Harley erupted. "I couldn't care less about fish," Harley said. "I hate going camping and I want my own bed. Why did we come here, for goodness sake? The street we live in has its own lake. I kept quiet when I thought this was a game, but now everything's changed and you're all to blame. When I got home from school the other day, Mum was riding a bike and puffing away. Then Dad got up early to run in the park when he should have been sleeping because it was still dark. That's not all. The yard has been cleared. He's mowed all the lawn and he's growing a beard. The worst thing was when I fell in a puddle. Mum felt too thin when she gave me a cuddle." Jonah stopped himself yelling because now he felt bad. Harley's last comment just proved he felt sad. So he whispered to Freya and left with the others to say thanks for dinner to the dads and the mothers. Freya took Harley's hand and he tried not to cry. Then he shuffled away but couldn't say why. "Harley, it's okay to cry," Freya said. "Sometimes life's hard and you can't get ahead. When I get like that, I just cry and I scream. It makes me feel better than eating ice cream. Come with me now and give it a go. It'll be fun. Let's put on a show." So they both ran around madly screaming. It didn't take long for his tears to come streaming. After a while, he was feeling much better. Then his mum came to cuddle and put on his sweater. She asked, "What was all that noise about?" Harley replied, "I just felt like a shout." Then he hugged her tight until he felt numb and said, "Thanks for this weekend. I love you, Mum." When the last of the of the day's sunlight had faded, the marshmallows toasted, and the kids serenaded. It was time to snuggle in a warm sleeping bag, tell ghost stories, and have a good old chin wag. The rest of the trip was full of fun, abseiling down cliffs and games played in the sun. When the weekend was over, they packed up their stuff, feeling tired and weary from living life rough. The end.